Nobody in that training yard believed she belonged there. Not the sergeants with their sunburned necks and crossed arms. Not the junior recruits whispering behind their canteens. And certainly not Commander Reyes, the decorated Navy SEAL, who had spent 22 years deciding who was worthy of wearing a uniform and who was wasting everyone's time. When Reeves walked onto the Federal Tactical Training Compound on a cold Tuesday morning in October, carrying nothing but a duffel bag and a pair of calm, dark eyes, the laughter started before she even reached the check-in table. Someone said it loud enough for the whole yard to hear. "What are you? A sniper?" The words hit the air like a slap. Maya didn't flinch. She simply set her bag down, signed her name, and looked out toward the range with an expression that nobody there could quite read. Stay right here, because what happened next on that range changed every single person who witnessed it. And if you've ever been told you don't belong somewhere, this story was written for you. She had grown up in a small town in rural Texas where the fields stretched so wide that distances became a language. She learned before she learned to read. Her father, a quiet man named Earl, had taught her to shoot not as a skill, but as a form of patience. He would say, "Maya, you fire when the world goes still inside you." Earl died of a stroke when she was 16, leaving behind a rifle, a mortgage, and a daughter who learned to keep the world still inside her no matter what chaos surrounded her. She joined the military at 19, deployed twice, served without ceremony, and came home without fanfare. She applied to the Federal Tactical Sniper program not because she wanted glory. She applied because it was the hardest thing available, and hard things had always felt like home. Commander Reyes ran the qualification trials personally. He was the kind of man who believed excellence had a certain look, a certain sound, a certain build. Maya had none of those things. She was 5'4", soft-spoken, and she wore no medals on her civilian jacket. When she stepped to the line for the first evaluation shot, a target 900 meters out in crosswind conditions, 3 instructors openly bet against her. Reyes stood with his arms behind his back, watching through binoculars. Already composing the dismissal in his head? The wind shifted. Maya breathed once. The rifle cracked, dead center. The yard went quiet in a way that felt physical, like pressure dropping before a storm. Reyes said nothing. He called for the second target, 1,100 meters, angled downhill, moving laterally at variable speed. She settled again. The world went still inside her. She fired. The target stopped moving permanently. An instructor walked to Reyes and whispered something. Reyes lowered his binoculars slowly and looked at Maya for the first time as though she were a person and not a problem. But it was the third shot that broke something open in the room. Reyes himself stepped forward. He said a final scenario that had never been cleared in 12 years of the program, a hostage simulation. 2 overlapping figures at 1,300 meters, 1 target, 1 protected civilian. The margin of error was less than 4 inches. 3 trainees had attempted it that season. All 3 had failed. Reyes looked at Maya with something that might have been cruelty, or might have been a test of character disguised as cruelty. "If you miss," he said quietly, "you're done. If you hit the wrong target, you're done. You have 1 shot." Every person on that compound held their breath. Maya looked through the scope for a long time. Longer than felt comfortable. A junior recruit behind her started to whisper that she was frozen, that she couldn't do it. Then everything went still. The shot was perfect. The instructors started clapping before Reyes could organize his face into something controlled. One of the men who had laughed that morning was staring at the ground. Reyes walked toward her slowly, and the yard parted around him like water. He stopped 2 feet away. His jaw was working like he was chewing through something heavy. Maya waited. She had waited her whole life. She was good at it. "Where did you train?" he asked. "My father's field," she said. "He passed away when I was 16. Something crossed Reyes's face that nobody had ever seen there before. He had lost a daughter to a car accident 9 years ago. A girl who had wanted to serve, who had died at Ayton before she ever got the chance. He had spent the years since building walls around that grief and calling the walls discipline. He looked at Maya, and for one moment he did not see a recruit. He saw stubbornness shaped by loss. He saw someone who had turned grief into precision, pain into stillness, absence into purpose. He recognized it because it was the same thing he had been doing, just pointed in different directions. He extended his hand. "Welcome to the program, Reeves," he said. His voice was not entirely steady. The clapping started again, louder this time. But Maya wasn't listening to the clapping. She was looking out toward the range where the target still stood at impossible distances. And she was thinking about her father, about stillness, about how the world had told her in 1,000 quiet ways that she did not belong, and how she had shown up anyway. How she had always shown up anyway. If this story moved something in you, share it with one person who needs to hear it today, someone who's been laughed at for daring to try. Because sometimes the most powerful shot isn't the one that hits the target. It's the one that silences the room, the one that changes the way people see what's possible. And that shot, that moment, belongs to everyone who never stopped showing up.